NBA draft lottery. So the results came out, and the number one pick in this year's draft class is going to the Orlando Magic. And then the number 2 overall pick is going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The number 3 pick is going to the Houston Rockets. Number 4 to the Kings. 5 to the Pacers. So I'm just going to kind of cover the top 5. Kind of like we did with the football video, I'm definitely going to do, like with the NFL mock draft, I'm going to do a really detailed NBA mock draft. Probably going to release it around a week before the NBA draft. I like to just give these things some time so I have an idea of like what actually might happen. Maybe some trades happen prior to the draft that are already cleared up. And then with the NBA specifically, usually the draft, like the order before the draft starts. The NFL is like a little bit more up in the air. Typically, like, this year we had an idea who might be the number 1 overall pick. But, like a lot of the other picks were totally up in the air. But for basketball, sometimes the first few picks are, kind of solidified. But this year's going to be very interesting in that sense because it might not be like that this year. We might really come down to the draft before we find out like what's actually happening. Because this year, in my opinion, you've got 3 prospects that could potentially go number 1. They're all talented enough to be the first overall pick. And it's just going to come down to how the teams grade them overall. Like what do they like more, and what they're looking for in the player that they select. Because the Magic, Thunder, and Rockets, they all 3 need bigs. And in this draft class, you got Chet Holmgren out of Gonzaga, you got Jabari Smith out of Auburn, and then you got Paolo Banchero out of Duke. And literally all 3 of these guys look like they could be number 1 overall picks. They've all 3 got like very unique skill sets. So Chet Holmgren is a 7-foot player who can pass the ball. He's got good handles. He can shoot pretty well, and he's very good at blocking shots. So, and he can move the court really well as well. So he's a very interesting prospect. A lot of people compare him to like a Kristaps Porzingis type player. I can certainly see some of that, but I think he could be a higher level player in the next level in the NBA. I think he's got a ton of potential. And then the other 2 guys, Jabari Smith out of Auburn. This guy's like 6'10", and he's just got a super smooth jumper. He can shoot from all over the court. And he's also got length and so he can block shots, get a lot of rebounds as well. So he's a very good prospect. And then you got Paolo Banchero out of Duke, and he's also, I think he's 6'10". He's the more powerful guy among the 3. If someone's more likely to dunk on somebody, it's probably Banchero. He can also shoot the ball pretty well. Decent passer as well at Duke. A lot of people said he got a lot better overall his freshman season. So I think it's interesting. He's got a nice post game as well. So like all 3 of the guys, they provide different things, and then the top 3 all need big men. So it's gonna be fun, and these are gonna be young teams that got a lot of talent. So like the Magic, for example, they've got a bunch of young guards. Last year, the Magic selected Jalen Suggs out of Gonzaga. It'd be cool if they paired him with Chet Holmgren, another Gonzaga player, and I think Holmgren and I think they played together in high school, I want to say. And then the Thunder, you've got Josh Giddey, you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So you got a lot of young, good players on the Thunder, and you're going to pair that with a good big man. And then the Rockets as well with Jalen Green. So all of these teams are going to be doing some things. The Kings at pick number 4, they kind of, I don't think they were supposed to draft this high, so I'm sure they're stoked to have the 4th overall pick. They could use one of these bigs, so I'm sure they'd be super happy if one of these guys slides. But then there's a couple other guys in the draft class that are really interesting. Jaden Ivey out of Purdue. He's a really good guard, super athletic, can score the ball pretty well as well. And during the tournament, he had a lot of really good games, carried Purdue. And then, I don't know if these other guys really have they might not go number 4 overall. But just want to touch on some other guys that I'm interested in this class. Shaedon Sharpe out of Kentucky. He's a shooting guard. And then Benedict Mathurin from Arizona. He's another guy that had just a crazy tournament run. And then there's a guy out of Serbia who has like the identical name to the NBA MVP, Nikola Jokic. He's coming out in this draft class. His name is actually Nikola Jovic. So it's a V instead of a K. But he's a 6'10", like small forward and power forward. He looks like he could be a very good prospect as well. So I think this is going to be a loaded NBA draft class. We're going to get more NBA draft content as we get closer to the draft and everything. But I'm very excited to see how that plays out and where these guys land. I think a lot of these guys have potential to become superstars in the NBA.